Welcome back from break. We're excited to dive right into our next section, reading. Remember, this is a scored component of your ACT exam, including the English, math, and reading. You will have 3 scored components, and we'll need to dive right in because there are a lot of things to cover. Now, let's talk more about the reading section of our ACT. This is going to test your ability to read. So remember, the more reading you do prior to the examination, leading up to it, the better. The better you're able to focus and synthesize the content of the information, the better off you'll be, including especially the very first sentence and last sentence of each of your 4 passages. So let's talk more about our strategy here, because strategy is going to be key. There are going to be 4 passages. Each of those passages will have 9 questions. That means that you've got to leverage your ability to employ the strategies we're showing you today. The question types are critical. There is 1 structure for the passages, and there are 2 shorter passages. Some of the questions about the first, some about the second, and then some will be about both of those passages that you're reading. Now, remember, there's a target here of about 650 words per passage, so they're not that short. This means that your passages of 800 words on test day for the next few years will require you to have some strategies. You're going to have to employ them and be quick about it. So instead of 10 passages, instead of passages, there are now 9. That portion. Remember, let's go back to our orientation. Pop quiz. Ready? Thumbs up. There are 36 questions. Isn't that right? Now, you've only got how much time? 40. Correct. Thumbs up for 40. There we go. Now, that gives us only 4 minutes after we've completed all of our items to review what we've done. So it's going to be very important that we dive in and get started. Now, this is only going to include literary narrative or informational questions. That gives us a little breathing room. But let's talk about our strategy here. The 4 S's include skim and scan. Now, when we skim, we do what? We read and gather as much insight from skimming through the passage as possible initially. Then we scan. After reading these questions that come after each passage, scan for the relevant information. There are going to be how many answers per question? Correct. There are 4. Thumbs up for 4. Perfect. You need to be able to then identify which questions to eliminate and be able to support the rationale. Remember, supporting what you have determined to be the correct answer in the scanning process is going to be critical. So you support what you scanned and identified. Then you be sure that the scope of your answer is related to what you've used in your support and scan process. So what are the 4 answers? Let's say them out loud together. On the first is scan, correct. On the second is what? Perfect, scan. On the third is what? Correct, support. Thumbs up for the last one, perfect, scope. Now, remember, ACT is like an open book test because every answer that you need is right there in front of you. That arms you with a whole lot of leverage. So let's get that higher score. The answers are right there in front of you. So what are you going to do? Skim, scan, support, and scope. Where it's much more important than who, what, when, why, or how, to skim that passage before you even read the questions. You're going to get at least a general idea. Remember, which sentences are most important? Perfect. First and last. You all are so awesome. I know those scores are going up. What do we feel? We feel confident and ready. Am I right? Perfect. Thumbs up if you're confident. Thumbs up if you're ready. Perfect. Now, you never need to run out of time. Why is that? Because you know per question to do these things. Here's your strategy. 3 minutes maximum when you skim. That means out of the 9 minutes that you've allotted, only 3 are going to be maximized using your skim process. That clock on the screen is important. Look up and remember to keep going. You get 6 minutes to scan. So 3 minutes to skim. How many to scan? 6, perfect. Then you can try something different only if you've had a chance to practice to find which technique you're best at and employ that one. Remember, you can go back to your orientation, you can mark and move, you can do what else? You can cherry pick, okay? So all of those strategies come right on in hand, and you're going to be what? Confident. Perfect. Thumbs up if you're confident and ready. Perfect. It's faster to batch bubble the answer choices as opposed to going in item by item. Batch bubbling means what? You know, if you've marked in your test booklet only, A for 1, C for 2, and D for 3, then you're going to mark them first in that 3-part tripartite fashion, and then you're going to go back to your test booklet after all 3 have been completed and mark your answers there, A, C, D, and then move back to your test booklet and keep going. So every single passage on the ACT reading test will have questions that you can answer. Remember, our goal is what? Perfect. Get through the entire test. You get at least how many points per question, no matter whether it's right or wrong? Awesome. Thumbs up for 1 point per question. We're going to at least get those points. There is no penalty for guessing or wrong answers. Each passage has 9 minutes in it. Let's never run out of time. Say it with me. Never run out of time. Perfect. Thumbs up. We'll never run out of time. Now, let's do some practicing here. Let me just give you a little extra credit here. Be sure you're listening. Who will answer this question? What are my 4 S's in our strategy? Awesome. Scanning, support, and scope. Now, which of the following assumptions would be most critical for a reader to accept in order to agree fully with the author's claims in the passage? Remember, open your workbooks and follow along on page 124, 124. If you're aiming for that score below 24, you might want to employ your which strategy here? Cherry picking. Okay, so we've covered that during our English section. Let's go on back. Cherry picking, of course, is spending your time only on the problems you know, showing all of your work on the problems you do know, and then mark and move on to the next ones, right? Now, let's employ some more of these strategies. So, which of the following assumptions would be most critical for a reader to accept in order to agree fully with the author's claims in the passage? Now, looking at the middle 2 items, remember we zero in on the middle 2 items. The pen is a much more powerful weapon than the musket or the saber. H says, men with humble beginnings can be capable of greater things in life. Now, which one? Can we eliminate choices G and J? Thumbs up for yes, because while they might possibly be true, they're not supported by the passage. See, we've already read through it. Neither assumption contributes to the readers agreeing with the author's claims. We're on page 124 of your workbooks, following along. Choice F, is it definitely supported by the passage? Yes, it is. Okay, but S in our strategy, it's not. Why is that? Because the passage choice F only fits one small part, and that pertains to the skills required to live in the wild being very beneficial for war. Now, elimination. Eliminate answers that either contradict the passage or don't correctly fit with what is being asked. You will then be left with fewer choices to decide between. We got the answer right? Good. Not everyone in the colonies was interested in independence from the British. Perfect. Let's move forward. Next up, we'll talk more about our science section. Remember, although it's not going to count towards your total score, we're going to answer every question. I want to give you a couple of tips here because I know this is way TMI, right? You all are ready to go for break. You all are definitely going to be on test day kind of wondering, when will this ever end? When your brain begins to give out, get frustrated, anxious, and exhausted, what do? We go back. Correct. Thumbs up for what is my why? Thumbs up. What is my why? Why am I here? Why do I need a higher score? Remember that, because it's going to come in handy when that test gets to be laborious and you are ready to throw in the towel. Watch out. That's when you pull that why right back up to the forefront of your mind and you say, by practicing, I am actually taking the test. I will keep that from happening. Furthermore, if I space out, I'm going to get into control. I'm not going to put the car in park, and I'm definitely not going to put it in neutral. I'm going to drive, and I'm going to go up that hill in higher gear, okay? Introducing a dictionary into what you do prior to test day may be the biggest tip you can take, because if tomorrow is not your last chance in taking this test, this can have an impact not only on tomorrow, but on the future scores. Read through the dictionary, right? Reading, reading, reading. It's critical. Remember, they say, what is that? Reading. Well, it's fundamental. Everything you do is going to require reading, whether it's math, whether it's science, whether it's English. You got to keep reading, and your reading level will automatically do what? Ooh, increase. Thumbs up. If you force yourself to turn off that canned entertainment, you all are playing video games, Lord, you all are on your TVs, you're watching Netflix and chilling out. But guess what? Force yourself, starting with 5 minutes at night prior to going to bed. Not only are you taking your sip of water or doing whatever else your regimen requires, teeth brush and all that good things, you set an alarm. The alarm's going to go off. It's 11:30. It's time for me to wind down. I go, I brush my teeth. I do my hair. I put oil on. I do whatever it is I'm doing. Then I get right there in the bed. I turn the light back on, and it's 11:45 to 11:50, and I'm going to read for 5 straight minutes. Once you have that habit down, increase the time. Let's go from 5 to what? 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. Diving into that book, you'll find that you start to look forward to that calm, that sense of peace, that sense that what your brain is absorbing is the most important thing you could have had for the day. And you're ready to dive into that zone, and you're ready to just tune out and go right on to sleep. Guess what? It'll be the best sleep of your life. Let's wrap up. Extra credit review question. Are you listening? Good. In a dual passage question, thumbs up. What must students pay special attention to when you're answering a combined question, a 2-part question? Perfect. Thumbs up for how those 2 passages relate in content, agreement, or contrast. You all are doing so great. I know that you feel confident. You feel ready. Thumbs up for let's nail it. Perfect. Let's nail that test on test day. I'll see you next time. We're going to talk through science. Have a good one.